What if I told you the criminals who once ran Las Vegas cared more about your happiness than the corporations running it today? The mob built a city where truck drivers could eat steak next to millionaires, where loyalty meant something, and where a handshake guaranteed you'd be treated like royalty. Today, that same city charges you $30 to park, $25 for eggs, and treats you like a walking credit card. This isn't nostalgia talking. This is about how Vegas went from dangerous magic to sanitized greed. And by the end of the video, you'll know why it matters right now. Number 10. The Desert Mirage. In 1946, Bugsy Siegel stood in the middle of absolutely nothing. Just sand, scorpions, and heat that could end you. Where everyone else saw wasteland, he saw the Flamingo Hotel. Where others saw impossibility, Meyer Lansky saw tax havens and legal loopholes. These weren't just criminals, they were visionaries who understood something profound. Build it beautiful enough, wild enough, free enough, and people will drive across a desert to find it. The mob didn't ask for permission. They didn't conduct market research or wait for zoning approval. When Mo Dalitz wanted to build the Desert Inn, he just built it. When Tony Accardo envisioned the Stardust, he made it happen. These men transformed 25 square miles of nothing into the entertainment capital of the world using pure willpower, dirty money, and an understanding that people desperately wanted to escape ordinary life. They built without limits because they operated outside them. The Flamingo cost $6 million in 1946, which is $100 million today, and Siegel spent every penny making it perfect. Real marble, not vinyl. Crystal chandeliers from Europe, not wholesale knockoffs. The best chefs stolen from New York, not line cooks from Cisco. Was it legal? No. Was it magical? Absolutely. Now look at Vegas today. Want to build something? First, get past the zoning board controlled by two mega corporations. Navigate environmental reviews that take 3 years. Secure approval from investment committees in Manhattan who've never felt desert heat. Watch your vision get watered down by risk management, compliance officers, and shareholders who care more about quarterly earnings than creating wonder. The empty lots surrounding the Strip aren't empty by accident. They're held by hedge funds waiting for the perfect ROI. That boutique casino concept you had? Unless you're backed by billions, forget it. The mob built Vegas by breaking rules. Corporations maintain it by creating so many rules that only they can play. The irony burns hotter than August asphalt. Criminals who laundered money through counting rooms created more honest magic than legitimate businesses ever could. Because when you're already operating in the shadows, you might as well build something bright enough to blind people. But wait until you hear how they actually treated the people who walked through those doors. Number 9. The mob's golden blueprint. Frank Costello had a saying, "A happy customer is a returning customer, and a returning customer is how you stay alive." Sounds like business school, except Costello ran Murder Incorporated. Yet somehow these violent men understood customer service better than any MBA graduate running Vegas today. Here's how it worked. You walked into the Sands in 1965. The pit boss, probably connected to the Chicago outfit, noticed you'd been playing for 2 hours. Without asking, a girl appeared with your favorite drink. You mentioned it was your anniversary? Your room just got upgraded. Lost more than you should have? The boss would walk over, pat your shoulder, and comp your entire stay. Bad luck tonight, friend. Dinner's on us. Come back when you're feeling better. These weren't computer algorithms tracking your spending patterns. This was Joey from Brooklyn, who remembered your name, your wife's birthday, and that you liked your martini dirty. When Sam Giancana ran operations at the Riviera, he'd personally walk the floor, shaking hands, learning faces. If you were a regular, you weren't customer ID number 45789. You were family. And in their twisted way, they meant it. The mob understood something corporations never will. Gambling is emotional, not transactional. When someone loses money, they need to feel valued, not processed. So they created a system where everyone, from the valet to the casino manager, had the power to make your night better. No approval needed, no forms to fill out, just human judgment and the understanding that keeping you happy meant you'd be back. Today, try getting a free drink without a player's card tracking every penny you spend. customer service means talking to a chatbot that redirects you to another chatbot. The host who used to know your name has been replaced by an app. Comps aren't gestures of goodwill. They're calculated to the decimal point by software that knows exactly how much you need to lose before you deserve a free buffet. Want your room upgraded? That'll depend on your tier status, recent spending patterns, and whether the algorithm thinks you're profitable enough. Lost big at the tables? Here's a coupon for 10% off your next stay. Valid Monday through Wednesday. Blackout dates apply. The mob treated customers like humans who deserved respect. Corporations treat you like data points to optimize. But the real tragedy was about to unfold on the stages where Sinatra changed everything. Number 8. Sinatra, Stardust, and the Rat Pack Era, December 1960. Frank Sinatra walks onto the Copa Room stage at the Sands. He's drunk, the crowd's drunk, and nobody cares because this isn't a show, it's a moment. Dean Martin stumbles out mid-song. They trade insults that would get you canceled today. And Sammy Davis Jr. turns it into a 3-hour party that nobody who was there ever forgot. This was the mob's gift to Vegas. Entertainment without boundaries. The Copa Room wasn't built by focus groups. It was built because Jack Entratter, connected to the New York families, knew Sinatra from the Copacabana. One phone call, one handshake, and suddenly Vegas had the Rat Pack. No contracts lawyers could understand. Just an arrangement between men who kept their word because breaking it meant more than lawsuits. These weren't residencies, they were revolutions. Sinatra would play until 4 a.m. if the crowd felt right. He'd walk off stage if they didn't. Martin would bring audience members up to drink with him. Sammy would tap dance until his feet bled because the energy demanded it. They broke every rule because the mob owners understood that real entertainment can't be scheduled, sanitized, or safe. The stages were small enough to see fear in a performer's eyes, close enough to smell the whiskey on Dean's breath. The Sahara's Congo room sat 500 people. The Desert Inn's painted desert room held 400. Intimate enough that when Nat King Cole sang, you felt like he was singing to you personally. These weren't concerts. They were conversations between artists and audiences who understood they were witnessing history. Now, Lady Gaga plays the same set list 47 nights in a row to 5,000 people in a venue designed by acoustic engineers to maximize ticket sales. Every joke is scripted, every movement choreographed, every spontaneous moment practiced in rehearsal. Residencies aren't about art, they're about predictability. Corporate Vegas wants shows that run like machines, because machines don't cancel performances or demand creative freedom. The Sphere cost $2.3 billion to build and feels less alive than a mob joint with wood paneling and cigarette burns, because technology can't replace danger and safety can't create magic. The mob knew entertainment needed edge, unpredictability, the possibility that tonight might spiral into legend or disaster. But even more than the stages, the mob understood something about respect that would define their entire operation. Number 7. The Code of Respect. Meyer Lansky had 3 rules for running a casino. Never cheat the customer, never let them leave angry, and always make them feel important. Coming from a man who built his empire through violence and fear, this philosophy seems insane. But the mob understood something corporations forgot. Respect is profitable. Walk into the Thunderbird in 1962, lose $5,000 at blackjack. The floor manager, probably connected to the Cleveland family, doesn't see you as a sucker. He walks over, sits down and says, "Tough night, let me make it right. Your room? Comped? Dinner at the steakhouse? On the house? 2 tickets to see Don Rickles? Already at the concierge? Not because you earned it through points or status, but because you deserve dignity after a loss." The mob's casinos operated on unwritten codes. Drinks flowed free as long as you played. Not premium drinks for high rollers and watered garbage for everyone else. The same bourbon for the plumber playing nickels and the surgeon playing hundreds. Food was practically given away. The famous $1.99 shrimp cocktail? That was real. Prime rib dinners for $4.95? Absolutely. They understood that cheap food and free drinks weren't losses. They were investments in keeping you at the table. Even the games themselves reflected this respect. Blackjack paid 3-2, period. Single-deck shoes were standard. Roulette had 1-0, not 3. The house edge was fair because the mob knew a simple truth. Let people win sometimes, and they'll lose forever. Take everything, and they'll never come back. Today, respect is dead. That $89 room rate explodes to $200 after resort fees that cover amenities like existing. Parking that was free for 70 years now costs $30 because some consultant said people would pay it. A cocktail that should be complimentary runs $28, and that's before the automatic 20% service charge they hope you won't notice. Blackjack pays 6 to 5 now, tripling the house advantage. 000 roulette spreads across floors like cancer. Slot machines are programmed to give you just enough wins to keep pulling, while guaranteeing you'll lose everything eventually. The mob stole from you honestly. Corporations steal from you while smiling and calling it hospitality. But this shift from respect to extraction started the moment the families began losing control. Number 6. The Fall of the Families. November 21st, 1980. The MGM Grand burns, ending the lives of 85 people. The tragedy exposed more than faulty wiring. It revealed that the mob era was ending. Federal investigations intensified. The skinning operations that funded Midwest families were unraveling. By 1983, the FBI's Operation Strawman had indicted every major mob figure in Vegas. The families were finished, but nobody understood what we'd lose when they left. Here's what people don't grasp. When Tony Spilatro skimmed from the Stardust, that money went to Chicago, yes, but Chicago sent it back. They reinvested in more casinos, better shows, improved restaurants. The mob treated Vegas like their prize garden. You don't strip a garden bare, you cultivate it, nurture it, make it grow. Every dollar stolen was $2 reinvested because they understood that Vegas was their golden goose. The Teamsters Pension Fund, controlled by Jimmy Hoffa and the mob, financed Caesar's Palace, Circus, the Dunes, the Desert Inn, the Stardust. Corrupt? Absolutely. But that corruption built the skyline. When Mo Dalitz ran the Desert Inn, profits didn't vanish to offshore accounts. They became the Las Vegas Convention Center, the Sunrise Hospital, the Boulevard Mall. Criminals invested in the community because they lived there, raised families there, planned to die there. The mob's Vegas kept money circular. A dealer's tips became a down payment on a house. A cocktail waitress's wages went to local shops. The economy breathed through the lungs of people who called Vegas home. When the Stardust needed renovation, the mob hired local contractors, not the lowest. Bidder from Malaysia. When the Sahara needed entertainment, they hired musicians living in Vegas, not touring acts taking money back to Los Angeles. Then came corporate consolidation. MGM Resorts International owns 30% of the Strip. Caesars Entertainment owns another 20%. These aren't Las Vegas companies. They're publicly traded entities with shareholders in Tokyo, London, Dubai. Every dollar spent at Bellagio doesn't circulate through Vegas. It vanishes into international markets. The quarterly earnings that Wall Street celebrates are dollars that will never build a Vegas hospital, school, or community center. The mob stole millions, but gave back billions in development. Corporations steal billions and give back press releases about quarterly growth. But the real transformation began when men in suits who'd never touched a poker chip started making the decisions. Number 5. Enter the Suits. January 1989. Steve Wynn opens the Mirage. The volcano erupts, the white tigers roar, and everyone celebrates the new Vegas, free from mob influence. What they didn't realize was they were watching the city's soul get sold to Harvard MBAs who saw spreadsheets instead of people. The mob guys who ran Vegas weren't educated, but they were smart. Benny Binion, who founded the Horseshoe, couldn't read until he was 48, but he knew that treating a cowboy with respect meant that cowboy would lose his entire paycheck at your casino and come back next month happy to do it again. These were men who understood Vegas viscerally, emotionally, personally. Sam Boyd started as a dealer, worked his way to shift manager, eventually owned casinos. He knew every job in the building because he'd done them. When he made decisions for the California Hotel, he made them from experience, not from quarterly projections. The mob and mob-adjacent owners walked their floors daily. They ate in their restaurants, drank in their bars, knew their dealers by name. Now, the CEO of MGM Resorts lives in Illinois. The Caesars Board of Directors includes private equity managers who visit Vegas quarterly for meetings at conference rooms that could be anywhere. They've never dealt a hand of blackjack. never worked a swing shift, never felt the specific exhaustion of being on your feet for 12 hours straight serving drinks, to degenerates at 4 a.m. Decisions that once happened over whiskey in back rooms between men who lived the consequences now happen in PowerPoint presentations to boards focused on shareholder value. The Tropicana gets demolished not because it wasn't profitable, but because the land value could generate better returns as a baseball stadium. The Riviera gets imploded not for a better casino, but for convention space that looks identical to convention space in Atlanta. When Tony Accardo decided to build the Stardust Pool, he built it because he wanted somewhere nice to swim. When corporate boards approve amenities, they calculate ROI, market positioning, and competitive analysis. One creates from passion, the other from spreadsheets. One builds character, the other builds assets. These suits turned Vegas into their laboratory for monetization experiments, and the results speak for themselves in every fee you never expected to pay. Or 4. The age of fees and algorithms. In 1975, you could book a room at the Dunes for $19. That was it. $19 got you a bed, air conditioning, free parking, and no surprises. The price you saw was the price you paid, because the mob, for all their faults, understood that hidden charges were insulting. They'd rather rob you honestly at the tables than nickel and dime you with deception. Today, that $89 room at Caesars becomes $189 after fees. Resort fee, $45 for Wi-Fi you don't use, a gym you won't visit, and pool access that should be free. Parking, $30, because walking from your car apparently costs them money. Early check-in, $50 to get a room before 4 p.m. Want your room cleaned? That's sometimes extra too. The room rate is just the cover charge for the privilege of paying more fees. But fees are just the symptom. The disease is algorithmic pricing that treats every interaction as an optimization opportunity. That breakfast buffet, its price changes based on convention schedules, algorithms tracking demand in real time. Thursday morning, it's $35. Friday morning, when conference attendees arrive, it jumps to $65, same eggs, same bacon, different algorithm. Your player's card isn't about rewards, it's surveillance. Every pull of a slot, every hand of blackjack, every drink ordered gets fed into databases calculating your lifetime value. The free room offers you receive aren't generosity. They're precisely calculated to extract maximum profit from your specific psychological profile. The algorithm knows you'll lose $2,000 if they give you a $200 room, so that's exactly what they offer. The mob comped rooms based on feel, intuition, relationship. You look like you're having a rough night, pal. Room's on us. Now 17 different software systems analyze your play patterns, loss tolerance, and behavioral indicators to determine if you deserve a free coffee. The humanity has been replaced by mathematics. Even the slot machines optimize against you in real time. The old mechanical slots had fixed odds. Pull the lever, take your chances. Now, digital slots adjust their patterns based on your playing style, keeping you engaged just long enough to drain your wallet at the mathematically perfect rate. You're not playing against chance. You're playing against an AI designed to read your psychology better than your therapist. The mob was satisfied with your gambling losses. Corporations want your gambling losses, your room charges, your food spending, your parking fees, and a detailed psychological profile to exploit next time. But if you think the fees are offensive, wait until you see what they did to the very foundation of Vegas accessibility. Number 3, the death of the deal. Benny Binion had a philosophy. Make the little guy feel like a big shot, and he'll act like one. At his Horseshoe Casino, anyone could walk in wearing work boots and a flannel shirt, eat a $3 steak dinner, and play poker next to millionaire. The mob understood that Vegas wasn't about luxury. It was about letting ordinary people taste a life they'd never otherwise know. The numbers were beautiful in their simplicity. In 1985, the average Vegas trip cost a family of 4 about $300 total. Rooms ran $20, buffets cost $4.95, and shows started at $15. A construction worker from Cleveland could save for 3 months and live like a king for a weekend. Free drinks flowed as long as you played, even if you were betting quarters. The shrimp cocktail for 99 cents wasn't a loss leader, it was a love letter to every working person who chose Vegas over Disneyland. This accessibility wasn't charity, it was genius. The mob knew that 10,000 regular people losing $100 each was better than waiting for one whale to lose $1 million. They built an entire city on the principle that everyone deserves to feel special, regardless of their bank account. The Stardust's $1 blackjack tables weren't insulting. They were inviting. Come play, have fun, be somebody for a night. Now look at the betrayal. That same family of four needs $2,000 minimum for a weekend. Buffets that cost $4.95 in 1985 now run $75 per person at Caesars Bacchanal. Adjusted for inflation, that $4.95 should be $14 today. Instead, it's increased 400% beyond inflation. The cheapest show tickets start at $80. Parking adds $120 for 3 days. Resort fees add another $150. The city that promised escape now requires a second mortgage to visit. The working class that built Vegas with their dollar bets and nickel slots can't afford it anymore. Corporate Vegas doesn't want regular people. It wants Instagram influencers and tech bros. They demolished the $1 tables and replaced them with $50 minimums. They ended the 99-cent shrimp cocktail because some consultant said it diluted the brand. They turned America's playground into a VIP section where velvet ropes separate the wealthy from everyone else. The mob built Vegas for the masses. Corporations rebuilt it for the elite. And in doing so, they didn't just end affordability, they ended the architecture of dreams. Number 2, the Plastic Paradise Walk Through the Sands in 1964, red leather, gold fixtures, and the smell of cigars mixed with Shalimar perfume. The carpet pattern was so ugly, it was beautiful, designed to hide stains and keep your eyes up at the tables. Now walk through the Flamingo, where Bugsy Siegel's ghost supposedly still roams. Art Deco meets Miami Beach, meets Fever Dream. Every casino was a world unto itself, a specific flavor of sin. The Desert Inn felt like Moroccan escape. The Stardust was atomic age optimism, with enough neon to be seen from space. Caesar's Palace was Roman excess that would make actual Romans blush. These weren't just themes, they were complete experiences. When you walked into the Riviera, you were transported to the French Riviera. When you entered the Sahara, you felt the Sahara. Architects on mob payroll didn't attend focus groups. They built fantasies from cocaine and creativity. The employees matched the atmosphere. Cocktail waitresses at the Tropicana wore elaborate headdresses that weighed 15 pounds. Dealers at the Sands had specific uniforms for different rooms. The Flamingo's pink and orange uniforms were so bright they hurt your eyes. Every casino had its own language, its own rituals, its own specific brand of beautiful chaos. Now, walk from the Link to Park MGM to Planet Hollywood. Can you tell the difference? Every casino uses the same color palette, beige, gray, and sadness. The same slot machines from the same manufacturers making the same sounds. The same corporate restaurant chains you'll find in every airport. Gordon Ramsay has 5 restaurants on the Strip. 5. The same chef, the same menu, the same experience multiplied until it means nothing. The uniforms are black polyester designed by committees to offend nobody and inspire nobody. Dealers wear the same outfits at every MGM property. Cocktail waitresses look like flight attendants. The carpets are tasteful, which is another word for forgettable. Everything is clean, modern, efficient, and completely without character. The Venetian promises Venice but delivers a mall with a fake sky. The Paris has an Eiffel Tower that leads to a Burger King. New York. New York compressed Manhattan into a food court. These aren't experiences. They're simulations of simulations. Copies so far removed from the original that they've forgotten what they're supposed to be. The mob built casinos with personality disorders. Corporations build casinos with no personality at all. But the sterilization goes deeper than architecture. Number 1. The ghost of Old Vegas. Here's what nobody wants to admit. The danger was the point. When the mob ran Vegas, you knew you were dancing with devils. That cocktail waitress might be dating a hitman. That pit boss definitely was one. The electricity in the air wasn't just from neon, it was from knowing that real gangsters walked these floors, that real violence lurked beneath the glamour, that this was a place where anything could happen, and often did. Frank Rosenthal survived a car bomb in 1982. Tony Spilotro buried bodies in the desert. These weren't movie plots. This was Tuesday in Vegas. And somehow, perversely, beautifully, that danger made people feel alive. You weren't just gambling with money. You were gambling with fate itself. Every trip to Vegas was a walk on the wild side, a chance to touch something dangerous without dying from it. The mob's Vegas promised transformation through risk. Not just financial risk, but existential risk. You might lose your money, your marriage, your mind. You might also find yourself, reinvent yourself, become someone your suburban neighbors would never recognize. Vegas was where mild-mannered accountants became high rollers, where housewives became showgirls, where ordinary people did extraordinary things because the city itself whispered, "Why not?" That energy created community among strangers. Everyone at the craps table was family for those 3 hours. The shared danger, the collective risk, the mutual understanding that we're all here doing something we probably shouldn't be doing. It bonded people. Vegas regulars didn't just know each other. They'd die for each other because they were all refugees from normalcy. Now Vegas feels like any other corporate space designed to minimize liability. Security cameras everywhere, not to catch cheaters, but to prevent lawsuits. No smoking because of health regulations, no drinking too much because of liability, no spontaneity because of insurance. The rough edges that made Vegas addictive have been sanded down to smooth, safe surfaces that reflect nothing but fluorescent lights. Modern Vegas doesn't transform anyone, it processes them. You arrive, you're assigned a player's card number, you follow designated paths to predetermined experiences, you leave with the same story as everyone else. The city that once promised to keep your secrets doesn't generate any worth keeping. The mob's Vegas was jazz, improvisational, and dangerous. Corporate Vegas is Muzak, engineered to offend nobody while moving product. We traded authenticity for safety, character for efficiency, soul for spreadsheets, and what we got in return is a city that makes money but doesn't make memories. A Vegas that nobody will ever write songs about again.